Roblox used to feel different. Not bad, not worse, just different. The games were slower, weirder, more experimental, and somewhere along the way that changed. The front page filled up with games that all kind of felt the same. Fast, loud, repetitive, and designed to keep you coming back every single day. This didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen by accident. Today, we're talking about why brainrot games took over Roblox, what that term actually means, how we got here, and what it says about the platform as a whole. Let's start by defining what we're actually talking about. When people say brainrot games, they're usually referring to a specific type of Roblox experience. Games that are designed around short sessions, high stimulation, and low complexity. Games like Steal a Brainrot, Escape Tsunami for Brainrots, or any of the dozens of clicker games that show up on the front page every week. These games aren't trying to tell a story, they're not trying to innovate, they're trying to hold your attention for as long as possible with the least amount of friction. And they're incredibly good at it. These games share a few common traits. They have simple mechanics that you can understand in seconds. They rely on visual and audio feedback that hits fast and often. They use daily rewards, streaks, login bonuses, and limited time events to pull you back in. And they're built to be played on mobile, which means they prioritize tapping, swiping, and short bursts of engagement over long-form gameplay. They're not designed to be deep, they're designed to be sticky. And right now, they're everywhere. But Roblox didn't always look like this. If you go back to the early 2010s, Roblox was a very different place. The front page was full of games that didn't fit into clean categories. You had obstacle courses that were just someone's passion project. You had experimental physics games that barely worked but were fun to mess around in. You had role-playing games that weren't trying to monetize you. They were just trying to create a space. The developers weren't professionals. Most of them were kids or teenagers building something because they thought it was cool. Discovery worked differently back then. Games didn't need millions of concurrent players to get noticed. The front page wasn't entirely algorithm driven. You could stumble onto a game with a few hundred players and find something memorable. Games like Natural Disaster Survival, The Underground War, or Sword Fight on the Heights weren't chasing trends. They were defining what Roblox could be, and the community rewarded that. Players stuck around because the games felt personal. They felt human. But that era didn't scale well. As Roblox grew, the platform needed more structure, more curation, more systems to handle millions of players and thousands of games being uploaded every day. And those systems didn't favor the weird experimental stuff. They favored games that could prove they were working. Games that had high retention, high engagement, high monetization. Games that could survive in an increasingly competitive environment. And that's where the shift started. By the mid-2010s, Roblox was becoming more mobile focused. The mobile player base was growing fast, and developers started designing with that audience in mind. Mobile players had different habits. They played in shorter sessions. They were more likely to engage with simple mechanics. They responded well to daily login rewards and streak systems, and they were more tolerant of aggressive monetization because mobile gaming as a whole had already normalized that, so developers adapted. Games started getting simpler. Games' UI got bigger and cleaner. Mechanics got more streamlined. And the games that succeeded were the ones that understood what the platform was rewarding. Adopt Me is a perfect example. It launched in 2017 and became the biggest game on Roblox by focusing on accessibility, daily engagement, and social loops. It wasn't trying to be complex. It was trying to be something you could play every day without thinking too hard. And it worked. It regularly pulled hundreds of thousands of players. At its peak, it was breaking Roblox's servers. Adopt Me proved that you didn't need depth to succeed on Roblox. You needed retention. You needed players coming back, and once that became clear, other developers followed the same blueprint. Simulators exploded. Pet collecting games, clicking games, tycoons that were basically just loops of incremental progress. These games weren't innovative, but they didn't need to be. They were efficient. They understood the incentives, and they dominated. Then came the next wave. Games that were even faster, even simpler, even more focused on short-term engagement. Games like Toilet Tower Defense, which capitalized on a viral meme and turned it into a monetizable loop. Games like Grimace Shake, which existed purely to ride a TikTok trend. Games that didn't even pretend to have long-term goals. They just wanted to grab attention, hold it for a few days, and cash out before the trend moved on. These games aren't necessarily bad, but they represent a very specific type of design philosophy. One that prioritizes speed over substance, virality over longevity, and engagement over creativity. And the platform has rewarded that philosophy consistently. So why did this happen? The answer comes down to systems, specifically how Roblox's discovery and monetization systems are built. Roblox's front page isn't neutral. It's designed to surface games that are already performing well. Games with high concurrent players, high session times, and high return rates get promoted. Games that don't hit those metrics get buried. And once you understand that, the entire ecosystem starts to make sense. Developers aren't chasing trends because they're lazy or uncreative. They're chasing trends because that's what the algorithm rewards. If you're a small developer trying to get noticed, you have two options. You can spend years building something unique and hope it catches on, or you can build something that fits the current meta, launch it quickly, and ride the wave. The second option is faster, cheaper, and statistically more likely to succeed. So that's what most developers do, and you can't really blame them. They're responding to the incentives the platform has created. Monetization works the same way. Roblox takes a significant cut of all transactions. Developers need to make back their investment, and the easiest way to do that is through game passes, microtransactions, and limited time offers. The games that monetize aggressively are the ones that survive. The games that don't often fade out, even if they're well made. So over time, developers started building monetization into the core loop, not as an afterthought, but as the foundation. And that changes what games feel like to play. Then, there's the influence of TikTok and short-form content. Roblox's audience skews young, and a huge portion of that audience spends hours on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels. These platforms train people to expect constant stimulation, quick cuts, fast dopamine hits, no waiting. And when those players come to Roblox, they're looking for the same thing. They're not looking for a slow burn experience, they're looking for something that grabs them immediately. And brainrot games deliver that. They're designed for an audience with a short attention span, and they're incredibly good at holding that attention, even if only for a little while. All of these forces, the algorithm, the monetization pressure, the audience habits, the mobile-first design, created an environment where brainrot games thrive, not because players necessarily want them, but because the system makes them the most viable option for developers and for the platform. So what does this mean for players? For a lot of people, Roblox still feels fun. The games are free, they're accessible. You can jump in, play for 10 minutes, and move on. And for younger players who didn't experience the older era of Roblox, this is just what the platform is. They don't see it as a downgrade, they see it as normal. But for players who remember when Roblox felt more experimental, more creative, more personal, the shift is noticeable. The front page feels repetitive, the games feel disposable, and the platform feels less like a place where people build things they care about and more like a marketplace optimized for engagement metrics. That's not necessarily wrong, but it is different, and it changes the relationship people have with the platform. For developers, the situation is more complicated. Building a successful game on Roblox is harder than it's ever been. The competition is massive, the player base is fragmented, and the only way to break through is to either pour thousands of hours and dollars into development or to build something that fits the current trend cycle. A lot of talented developers have left the platform because they couldn't make it work. Not because they weren't skilled, but because the system didn't reward the kind of games they wanted to make. The developers who succeed are the ones who understand the trade-offs. They know that creativity and sustainability don't always align. They know that building something unique is a risk, and they know that playing it safe is often the smarter choice. That doesn't make them sellouts, it makes them pragmatic, but it does mean that the platform as a whole has become less welcoming to creative risk-taking, and that's a loss, even if it's an understandable one. Here's the thing though, platforms move in cycles. What's popular now won't be popular forever. The brainrot era won't last indefinitely because trends don't work that way. Eventually, players will get tired of the same loops. Developers will start experimenting again, and the algorithm will adjust because it has to. Roblox's long-term success depends on keeping players engaged, and if players start leaving because everything feels the same, the platform will have to change. We're already seeing early signs of this. Games like Rivals have proven that you can still succeed on Roblox with games that prioritize design, atmosphere, and challenge. These games aren't brainrot. They're thoughtful, they're well made, and they found an audience. That doesn't mean the brainrot era is over, but it does mean that the mask can still swing back. Creativity isn't gone from Roblox. It's just harder to find. It's buried under layers of simulators and trend-chasing clones, but it's still there. In smaller games, in niche communities, in developers who are building things because they want to, not because the algorithm told them to. And those games matter, even if they don't hit the front page, because they remind us what Roblox can be when it's not trying to optimize for retention. The brainrot era happened because the platform's incentives pushed it in that direction. And as long as those incentives stay the same, the trend will continue. But systems can change, algorithms can be rewritten, and audiences can shift. Roblox isn't stuck like this forever. It's just stuck like this for now. And maybe that's enough to start asking better questions. Not about what's wrong with Roblox, but about what kind of platform we want it to be, and whether the systems we've built are actually serving the community or just the metrics. If you found this video useful, feel free to like and subscribe. But more importantly, if you're a developer or a player who cares about where Roblox is headed, keep making things, keep exploring, keep supporting the games that take risks, because platforms don't change on their own. They change because people push them to.